All right, I want to welcome everyone to Financing in Business. We have our very own SCORE Boston mentor, Shankar Hegde, and we are going to have a great presentation on different ways you can finance your business. I just want to go ahead and give you a little bit of information about SCORE as we get going. There's two important things that SCORE does, and that's training and mentoring. Training, it comes in the form of webinars most often. A few occasional in-person workshops. I think this summer, mostly what we have are webinars, but I definitely encourage you to check out the topics we have available for the summer. We've created a handful of new presentations this summer, and we're very excited to be bringing those to everyone. So watch for a newsletter from us or check out the website to see what we have on offer. The most important thing, however, that we do is mentoring. Our mentors are volunteers with a wide variety of experience and knowledge that they want to share with small business owners. Mentoring is always free. It is confidential. And we work with folks in all parts of the process. We work with those that are trying to decide if small business is right for them. We're talking to those that are in that planning phase, and we're talking to those that are already in business. They're coming to us with very specific questions, or they're trying to plan for growth, or any topic you can imagine. We have a mentor that can help you. A beginning session will be a get to know you time. They want to know what your goals are, what your challenges are, and they will work with you to formulate a plan, sometimes bringing in other mentors to assist if necessary. They work together collaboratively to get you to what you need. So, excuse me, to get a mentor, very easy. Go to the SCORE.org website, and there's going to be that little box there that says match me by zip code. Put your zip code in, and then you're going to enter some information on what you're looking for in a mentor, and you'll get your information will be sent to the chapter nearest you. You can also go directly to the local chapters in our district, and those are listed there. I can throw those in chat here shortly so that you have that information. While you're there, I encourage you to look around the website. There is just tons of information and tools and templates that you can use to your advantage. We do expect a good number in attendance today, so we are using Q&A. Q&A will be for you to enter questions that you want asked to the presenter. Chat can be for everything else. So if you have a question for our presenter today, go ahead and put that into the Q&A tab on your Zoom bar. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this down and let Shankar get his screen up.
Sure.
Get started.
Okay, let me just share it. Okay. All right, can you see?
Yep, looks great.
Okay. All right, let us get started. Before that, just a little bit of introduction. I have been with SCORE for about 8 years now. And before that, I worked for a big company like AT&T Bell Labs, and I was a partner at Arthur Andersen. Then I worked for a couple of startup companies. Then I started my own. So that's how I know all aspects of starting and running a business. So with that, today, this is the agenda. Why do people start businesses? I think let's start with that. And then I will talk about not just one way of starting a business, there are multiple ways. And then whether you start one way or the other, the financing a business is pretty much the same channels. We talk about owner financing. Then I have categorized a bunch of financing sources under ecosystems. Then the third one is the debt financing, which is really a loan in one form or the other. And then the last but not least is the equity financing, wherein the person who gives you the money wants to take a percentage of your company. That's the equity. Then I have a slide on the funding statistics. This is done by SCORE, and then we open up for questions and answers. Oh, yeah, hold on a minute. Let me just. Okay. Why do people start business? Believe they have a unique product or service that is valuable to other people, so that they can sell that product or service, and that way you make money. Many people want to be their own boss. That's okay. I mean, that's not a bad reason at all. So you want to be your own boss and you start a business and want to build something. Again, it could be a product or it could be an organization that delivers a product or services. And want to get rich may not be the main idea to get a business going, but at least you want to make a good living. Because always, when people start a business, they think and they want to be Mark Zuckerberg or Steve Jobs, any of the big names, or Elon Musk. It may not happen, but you should be able to make a good living when you start and running a business. Want to build a lifestyle business? That has been very popular nowadays with the YouTube and the internet. And you can see so many people making a good living through YouTube. YouTube in cooking is very popular. YouTuber in travel is popular. And again, I heard many people make really a good living out of this lifestyle business. As I said again, many types of businesses, selling products or services or a combination of products and services. Professional practice is another type of business. You're talking about the lawyers, accountants, and again, don't forget nonprofit. Again, there also you still have to make enough money to run the business and to invest in the nonprofit. So that's why you still have to make money in the nonprofit. Okay, 3 ways to start a business. One, I think everybody is familiar with or heard about is starting from scratch. However, you can buy an existing product, existing business, or you can license a business or a brand that is pretty much called franchising. So let's take a look at each one of them. So starting from scratch, what is the advantage? You are in total control. You are the boss. You make all the decisions and you keep all the profits. So that's the biggest upside. However, don't think all businesses succeed. Okay, there is a high failure rate, and also it takes several years to be profitable. And also you need to have your own operating systems and the apps nowadays. You have to have your own thing. And again, I'm going to go through all the financing options that you have if you are starting a business from scratch. But once you go down the path, you will realize that it's not easy. So that's you need to watch out. Okay, now the second option is to buy an existing business. So the advantage here is, the cash flow, at least the historical results. And that way it's attractive to lenders. It's easier to get a loan for an existing business. And also, you know where it is and you know the customer base. And also you will have the operating systems in place. And sometimes you may be able to get financing from the owner who is planning to sell his business. So anyway, what are the disadvantage? What is the real cash flow? Okay, that's in the books, but don't assume there's going to be the cash flow when you own the business and start running the business. So then what is the another disadvantage really is, what is the hidden seller motive, why he is planning to sell. So yes, of course, he is going to give you a reason or a couple of reasons, but are they the real reasons? You don't know. And once you own that business, don't assume that you will have all the employees. Some employees may quit. So nowadays, with the tight labor market, it's not easy to backfill those positions. And again, the training and support by the previous owner, we don't know the quality of the training and or support. So those are some of the disadvantages. Now, the third way you probably heard about these things is franchising. A lot of good big franchises, but if you start searching, you may be able to find a franchise that suits you, that is, you are interested in it, you are passionate about that franchise. So I would recommend you really to Google and find out what is the best franchise that will suit you. Again, the advantage is the name recognition. If it's a big franchise, everybody hears about Dunkin' Donuts, everybody heard about McDonald's, Burger King, but Subway, but there are so many other not so big name recognition franchises as well. And the training and support comes with it when you franchise. And since the franchise has been going for a while, the chances of failing that business is very low. What is the disadvantage? Is really you have to go with the systems they have and also territory, right? You can only operate in a certain geographic territory. You can sell your product or you can sell your service in only those locations. And again, don't forget that you don't keep all the profits because you need to pay back a certain percentage as a royalty to that franchise owner. Okay, now, so no matter what kind of business you are in, the best way to finance is what I call owner financing. What is that? You dip into your savings or other liquid assets. You may be able to get a home equity line of credit or loan, or a personal loan, or a loan against a credit card, but I don't recommend that unless you can pay the credit card on time. Otherwise, as you know, there will be very hefty interest on the payment that you owe. Again, best way to start the owner financing is talk to your relatives and friends. And again, it's not a charity. You can always get them to loan you a certain amount of money if they can. And you can always pay them the interest, probably interest better than they can put the money in a bank. So that's how, you can always get an interest and have appropriate paperwork so that you will be bound legally to pay back the money. So the next way to get funding is what I call a bunch of different ways of getting funding. Either business plan is one. Then I will go through some of the grants. Then a third option is what I call incubators and accelerators. And last but not the least, under this category is crowdfunding. Okay, business plan competitions. Most of the business plan competitions are at the university. What that means is you have to be either the student or the alumni. I think in sometimes the friends of alumni may qualify as well, but you have to check that out. Again, I'm listing some of the universities here in the local area, but again, people in out of town, out of state, always can find these universities where there is this business plan competition. Locally, as you probably all know, MIT had multiple business plan competitions. The Starship is a 100K entrepreneurship competition that happens every year. Harvard Business School has a new venture competition. Again, they have a couple of different programs for business plan. Babson has again a few programs, Dartmouth, BU, and UMass Innovation Challenge in different campuses. U.Pitch is the only one where you don't have to be the associate with any university. I think they started out with the universities, but then they are, hold on a minute, let me just get you this one here. It's taking a while. Okay, so this is for any entrepreneurs. It's not necessarily you have to be a student, and it's really has gone private. There is some statistics here. You can apply online. On this one, anybody can apply. Okay, there are other organizations where you don't have to be a student. American Chemical Society, in addition to a lot of other engineering societies, have the business plan competition. IEEE has one, at least it used to be. I got a business plan competition award from IEEE, which is the Institute for Electrical and Electronics Engineers. And locally here again, the Draper Institution has a competition for women. And then the Global Student Entrepreneurial Awards, there you have to be a student to apply. Okay, now I'm going to go through some of the grants. Here, there are more grants available, believe it or not, for women than for men. So again, don't say it's a discrimination. I don't know why. At least in my list, I found a lot of more grants for women. So having started out, let's get to the Amber Grant. This is very popular. They award 10,000 every month and then 25,000 annually. And for any of these, application is simple. Okay, this is the online application. So I apply, and then I always keep telling people, just don't stop after applying. You have to follow through. You have to find out, it's easy, it's online, who are the decision makers for that grant. And then you have to somehow call them up, or better yet, you have to find out whether in your friend circle anybody knows these people. So then if somebody knows, then it's better that your friend or your relative whom they know, they can call that person on your behalf, or you can get an introduction and follow through. So again, follow through is critical before they award that grant. The second one is Alice. It's just started a couple of years ago, I think 2-3 years ago, and it's pretty popular now. It's helloalice.com. Again, this is for minorities and women. The third one is Girl Boss, is specifically for minority women, and especially, I would say almost 100% is for African American women. The next one is FedEx. But here you have to have a FedEx account, and I think you had to be a FedEx. Okay. You have to be the user of the FedEx for 6 months, but the grant money is pretty big. I think, hold on a minute, this is about 50,000. They give out an award for 50,000. The next one is the National Association for Self-Employed. The amount is only 4,000, but 4,000 is 4,000. So I would encourage you to apply for the NASC grant as well. Remember, you can apply at the same time for more than one grant. I recommend you to apply for 3 to 4, at least at the same time. The Cartier Women Initiative Award is a big one. I mean, again, its award is for any anybody in the world. It's 100,000 for the first prize, and second prize is 30,000. And it's open for anybody, and that means the competition is tough. But without a competition, you don't expect any of these grants to be awarded. The next one, I will skip it, is only for female jewelry designer. I don't know how many of you are female jewelry designers. If so, the Halstead grant is the way to go. Now, the next one is the state grants. You can go to this database. Okay, this costs you $362 last time I looked at it. But the good thing about this is you can be from any state. I'll click on the Mass. Sorry, I clicked on Connecticut. It's okay. Okay, Mass. So it updates you. There are 32 grants available, and then you can apply online using this portal. Okay. However, if you don't want to pay $362, you can Google it. And if you are in Mass, you can Google it in Mass. There is a statewide grants as well as local grants. In a city like Boston or Cambridge, there are specific grants available to you in the city. Again, there is a special grant for women in the state or in the city. Now, in addition to that, there are federal grants. There are two different websites I have given you, because those are two different websites that directs you to different grants. Let me just look at one. The internet is slow. It will come back. Okay. So this is the latest one, government grants for 22. This is for this fiscal year. Apply for grants again is online, and small business grants, Pell grants, college grants, all the blah blah blah. And again, one thing I want to emphasize: if you are a veteran, then the veteran grants is everywhere. It's again the veteran grants at the state level, the veterans grants for federal level. Again, specifically grants for women. Okay, those are some of the grants. Again, I'm sure there are a lot more grants than what I listed here. But nowadays, it's very easy to get to the right source by spending your time on Google, half an hour or so. That is worth it. Now, let's give you an example of the federal grant. It is called SBIR or STTR. If you are in a kind of a technology, when I say technology in a broad sense, it could be technology in the high tech, it could be technology in the construction industry, it could be some technology in any industry. So there are almost all branches of federal government had this SBIR grants. Department of Defense is the highest one. And remember, Department of Defense grant is available to mostly to civilians. In fact, one of my clients has a DoD grant for getting or doing the artificial limbs and artificial hands. NIH had the second one highest, it's literally in billions of dollars in the grant. NSF, Department of Agriculture, Department of Homeland Security is pretty big now. This is like several years ago, 3-4 years back, but the amount of grant money went up. Department of Commerce, this is the last but one. I'm talking to you on that one because I did grant. A few years ago, I got a grant of $3 million. It was competitive, but the good thing about this is I got the grant in 3 months. So these are pretty fast. I would say anywhere from 2 to 6 months, you should be able to get a grant from any of these agencies. Okay, now we switch gear to incubators and accelerators. I'll tell you what the difference is, and then I'll tell you there is no difference whatsoever nowadays between incubator and accelerator. It's just in the name only. Having said that, incubators are the organizations that give you the money when you just have an idea. They want to incubate your idea. They will provide you some source of funding and the place where you can start working from. So then they have the mentors. So the whole idea is you incubate your idea to a level where then you can approach the accelerator, where they will give you the money, the funding, and then the mentoring to accelerate your business adoption or business success. So having said that, ignore that label. Okay, you can Google either incubator or accelerator, then probably you will come up with the same list. So again, in the locally, it's a mass challenge, is pretty popular. Y Combinator is out in the West Coast, but again, all of these are available to anybody from anywhere to apply. So it's not restricted by the geographic location. The third one is the Code Launch, then Harvard, what I call iLab, MIT. As I said before, there are so many programs. There is the one at Global Startup Labs, Cubic Labs. Again, you can Google through half a dozen, probably more, incubators and accelerators. Oh, by the way they fund this one is could be a percentage of your company, or they may be able to give you a loan, or it could be what they call a convertible note, means initially the loan and then it gets converted to equity once you are successful. Okay, crowdfunding. Everybody hear about this crowdfunding. I'm sure you heard about a couple of these. GoFundMe is the one that is always GoFundMe is for getting the loan in a hurry or raising the money for some kind of a disaster. Hopefully it won't happen. But what if there is only one breadwinner in your family and he or she runs into an accident, unfortunately he or she dies, then somebody may put up a GoFundMe site to raise money. So that's one example. But let's get back to the Kickstarter. The difference between Kickstarter and Indiegogo is only the amount of money you raise and keep. Kickstarter has a campaign, all or nothing, whereas Indiegogo is not really all or nothing. Suppose you have a goal for 100,000, you raise 50,000, and Indiegogo, you keep that 50,000, whereas Kickstarter, all or nothing. So having said that, both have the same kind of a business model. It's not cheap. So they take, I think, anywhere from 3 to 5% of the money you raised, plus there is a transaction fee. So every transaction, they take money from anywhere from 3 to 5% of each transaction. So yes, they do make money out of you, but there is a way of raising money for your business. Either one of them, I think it's good for if you have what I call a gadget or a device, then I think it's better to approach either one of them. Whereas the Mighty Cause is for nonprofit, as well as the Patreon is for nonprofit. Circle Up, you can look at that. It's available for anybody. Fundable. I want to focus on the Seed Invest, which is a little bit different model. Seed Invest is like investing seed money in your business, and they take, no, they don't take there is a fixed fee, I believe. Hold on a minute. Let me just Google through this one. Hold on a minute. Okay, let's check that out. Okay, oops. Okay, this is equity, sorry. Yes, it is equity crowdfunding source. So that means they do invest and they want a percentage of your company. So this is seed invest model. Okay, now let's switch to debt financing. As I said, debt by any other name is the loan. The first one is a bank loan. So this one is without any collateral. This is a revolving credit based on your credit score, line of credit, or they give you the money for the working capital. So now, if you can't get the bank loan, there is a peer-to-peer lending. So here, I believe they don't really worry about your credit score, but they do charge a higher percentage of interest. Again, I have a bunch of these peer-to-peer lending sources. You can look through that. Out of that, Peer Forum and Funding Circle are probably the largest ones. Now, the third one is equipment leasing. This is really for the heavy equipment that will cost, really literally millions of dollars. So the equipment leasing is instead of paying upfront, what you do is lease out in the terms of 3 to 5 years so that you can keep paying in an installment. So what does that mean is you can still save your cash for something else. So the next one is invoice for receivable financing, the same thing. If you have a receivable, it's a pretty chunk of money, say 100,000, and receivable, you want to get the money for say 90 days, but you need cash right now. So you go to one of these companies and you can get the money right away. However, they do charge the interest till you pay back the money. So, but the cash is available right away. The last but not the least is a Small Business Administration, SBA. So I will spend a little bit more time on this because remember, SBA does not give you the loan. It only guarantees you the loan. So you apply at a bank. So SBA has a recommended banks. In this area, I think the Eastern Bank is very popular. Then the bank decides if bank is willing to give you the loan and it is an SBA backed loan. What that means is bank underwrites based on the SBA policy. If loan is approved, the bank is the closing agent, and it is where you pay back the money and you pay with the interest servicing the loan. So borrower works with the bank, not the SBA. However, SBA guarantees the loan. Why would SBA guarantee the loan? Is to minimize the risk. You may not have enough collateral, or your type of business could be high risk for many of the banks. So that's how the SBA steps in and it guarantees the loan for the bank. So in return, SBA obviously gets a fee from the bank, not from you. So the SBA guaranteed loan, again from the bank, has a flexible maturity up to 10 years for working capital and up to 25 years for fixed asset. And again, the interest rate is negotiated between you and the bank. However, the interest rate cannot exceed the prime plus 2 3/4. So that's kind of a guideline. What the bank looks for is owner with good credit rating, and they want most likely in almost all cases, they want a business plan. And when I say business plan, it doesn't have to be 25 pages. It can be a few pages, 10 pages or less. And the bank wants to make sure that your business is going to be profitable so that you can pay them back. And eventually you pay them not just the interest, but the principal. And they want to make sure that you have the sufficient collateral and repayment options. Okay. To be eligible for this loan, you must be operated for profit, and it should exceed or it should not, it should conform to the size standards. When I say SBA size, how big is your business will be, how many employees, it depends on the industry. But if you are anywhere from 200 or less employees, or if your income is anywhere from the few 100,000 to a few million, then you are qualified. Most likely in any industry, you do qualify for the SBA loan, but you can always Google it and find out what is the size. And also the bank will tell you, the SBA will tell you the size. But again, that is not going to be a limiting factor. So only one thing is, you cannot, you can take the loan, but you cannot invest in the stock market, for example. Okay, this loan is very popular, it's called a 7A loan. Again, you can look at on their website, or look at the details on the program details, maturities and interest, and program guarantee fee. Again, this is between the bank and the SBA. So in addition to that, there is a loan involving you, the SBA, and what I call is called a CDC, Certified Development Company. There are many of these every state. Again, this kind of a loan is a three-way loan. You put up a example, for example, you put up, say, 10%, and the bank guaranteed by SBA, say, puts up 50%, and the CDC puts up the remaining 40% of the loan. So the maximum loan is 5 million. Again, the maturity is anywhere from 10 to 20 years, and 5.5 million for manufacturing or green project. Again, these are the 5004 program loan proceeds. Eligibility, who are not eligible, and the proceed requirements. Again, if anybody interested, we can give you this information or look at under the SBA website. The SBA had this micro loan or micro lending facility up to 50,000. So interest rate, I don't know now, it could be, this was a couple of months ago, 9%. I think it's probably somewhere in that range still. So again, 50,000, you can apply for micro loans. Now, let's go to the category of funding your business called equity. So equity means they take a percentage of your company. So the first one is a partner, right? You don't go alone. You have a partner. It could be a 50% partner, means you invest 50% and the partner invests 50%. So that is still an equity financing arrangement. Or you can go and work with another company. Ideally, if this company is going to be your customer and they may be interested in funding you, so that you can sell your product or service to that company. So again, this is the equity arrangement. The public market, IPO, everybody hears about the IPO, is the way to get rich. Yes, it is, but that is a byproduct. The main purpose of going IPO is to raise money for your company, to expand your company, to use the money for your marketing and your operations. So having said that, when you go public, the first set of people who make money are the people who invested in your company, whether through an equity as a seed investor or the first round or the second round. So they will get the money first. As a founder, you have a lock. It used to be generally, it still is 6 months. And you cannot sell any of your initial company share until 6 months. And then what they call a vesting schedule. You cannot sell all of your shares even after 6 months. You can sell a portion of the money that you are, that is part of your company. So you have to watch out for that. But eventually you do get rich if your company is successful. Now, in addition to that, this is IPO is a public market where you get listed in a NASDAQ or New York Stock Exchange or any of the private exchanges as well. In addition to this public market, there is a way of getting the money through equity. There are at least 3 different types of sources. One is the angel investor, the other one is venture capital, the third one is the private equity. So for people here, I think the angel investor is probably the interesting one, where they do invest in you early on, and the investment could be anywhere from 50,000 to $1 million or more. Again, these are the local investor groups. They're all what they call angel investor groups. What they are is the private investors come together and they pool their money, and they have a process of inviting. They have a process for application first. There is a common applications, by the way. There are a lot of the angel investors. You can apply through a organization called gust.com, GUST.com. There is a private application for that, and there is a process for that. And again, you should look through this before you apply to what kind of funding they do, because each angel investor group invests in certain types of industry or certain types of business. So you need to do some research. For example, I was on Thai Boston Angels operating committee. I was responsible for the process. So here, at least we used to invest on the high tech. What that means is if you have a great app, you go to Boston Angels. Or if you have a technology, hardware, software, a different product or something that is interesting to them, you go to the Thai Boston Angels. The bottom one is the Golden Seeds. Reason I'm talking about that is this is for women only investors. They have expanded quite a bit. I think they probably have gone national. By the way, any of these angel investor groups is accessible globally right now. It's not limited to geography anymore. But many times what they do is they do invite you for a face-to-face meeting. I think now they're back again face-to-face. It used to be during the COVID time, again Zoom. Now they're back again. You have to go there and present your business case in front of a group of angel investors. So with that, for that, I think you probably want to be local to that investor group where they conduct usually they do monthly investor meetings. So you probably select one where you can drive by. Okay, now there are 2 different ones, what venture capital and what they call a private equity. I'm going to go through quickly because the VCs and PEs, they differ in the type of company they invest in. VCs invest in the early stage, in the first round, whereas the private equity, they invest in the big companies where the big company is in trouble and they want to buy the company and merge with some other big company. And the level of capital invested, again, VCs will invest anywhere from 100,000 to a few million. By definition, private equity is in big bucks, and they obviously buy and sell companies in billions. Amount of equity they obtain through their investment, VCs again Make sure that, whatever the VC you go through, whatever the number of rounds, that you still keep the majority. Hopefully you can keep over 50%. So by definition, the VCs will keep less than 50% of your equity. Whereas PE, by definition, they buy the company. So that means the equity is 100%. When they get involved, VCs get early, whereas the PEs, obviously, get involved in the mature operating companies. Again, venture capitalists is the local here is half a dozen here. Again, I would advise you to search through and apply for the right one. I will just flash this. Again, it may not be applicable to many of you or all of you who are here today. But again, if you know anybody in a big company who wants to be bought over, here are some of those names. Okay, quickly the funding statistics. We SCORE interviewed 1,000 companies a few years ago, and guess what we found? Over 60% of the companies started with personal funds, 20 plus from income from another job, and 11% from friends, bank loan 11%, down here 1.7% is crowdfunding. How they use the money? Purchasing equipment over 60%, inventory, marketing, leasing, product development, hiring the staff, all the way to paying your own salary. Make sure that you get paid. Okay. With that, Teresa, I think I'm good for any of the questions.
Okay, great. Yeah, please definitely get questions submitted and we'll get those asked to Shankar today. There is one that was put in at the beginning, and I think it's a great question. At what point in my business building should I start looking for financing or look for the money?
There is nothing like too early. You start looking for the money, even if you don't have a business plan, you just have an idea. You start working on your business plan in parallel. You start raising the money, or at least start raising the money right when you think you have a great business idea for a product or service. Remember, it takes a lot more time than you think, and it takes a lot more effort than you think. So there is nothing like too early.
Okay. And I've gotten several questions, and I know people can't see the previous replies because they have joined later, whatever the situation, but I'm not sending out the entire slide deck, but I will be sending out a selection of the slides that had the different links on it. And you can also view the recording on our website. And I will put that link again in chat so that you have that information, and expect that the follow-up email will come out either Friday or Monday. So does anyone have any additional questions? You can use the raised hand icon and we can unmute you if you want to ask your question out loud. We are happy to do that, or you can go ahead and type into the chat or Q&A and we can get your questions answered. Is it too early to market and create social media pages if you haven't established the business? Again,
it's not too early at all. If you have an idea, you can, I would recommend that you really, for any social media, you need to have the material worth about a page. That's all you need. I mean, even a paragraph. So you start marketing social media right away. Even if you have a product, it will take 6 months down the line. So once you start getting the request, you can always tell them that the first product is available in a few months. Okay. So, but start marketing now. Building that excitement, building that brand. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. I am not a nonprofit, but I work with a technical high school. what is the best vehicle for funding to help them invest and acquire equity in the business?
So, Teresa, let me ask another. Is this the high school that is investing and getting the return, or is the person who is helping the high school?
Well, we'll have to wait for a follow-up on that.
Okay,
Karen, if you
but-
can send us more information.
right. But I think in either way, what is the question again? One more time, Teresa.
A non-profit, it's a for-profit technical high school,
Okay.
looking for funding.
Okay, if it is a for-profit, all the channels that I talked about, equity funding, loan, everything is is an option.
Yeah, she says it's equity in my business, like a franchising opportunity. Yeah, Karen, it might be better if you reach out to us and set up to speak one-on-one
Yeah.
with a mentor, and they can go into the details a little bit more with you. Because we don't want to get too much into one person's business. So mentors are free. So I definitely encourage you to reach out to us, and I can set you up directly with Shink or any of our other mentors that we have available. How detailed does the business plan have to be? When they review the business plan for funding, what specific area of the plan are most important to lenders?
How detailed it is, there is no limit on the number of pages. Having said that, I've seen people getting money in one page executive summary. So what that means is you need to convince the lender saying this is a good business idea. You need to tell them that you are going to be profitable and how. And you have to tell them who is your competition and how are you going to stack up. So those are the areas that any person is looking for.
And certainly a SCORE mentor can go into the specifics for your business and help you create and plan out your business plan.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Okay. I do not see any more questions. Doesn't mean that if you come up with a question later, you can't ask us. You can get a SCORE mentor and ask your questions. And absolutely, they're there to help you with that. Again, it's always free. It's always confidential. And they're volunteers who want to get back to the small business community. So don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you, Shankar, for great,
Sure.
great all that information. And thank you all for joining us. And we're almost there. So have a great weekend when we get there. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.